What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Sunbelt Syndicate, the 3B, as we like to call the baseball edition. We have a very exciting show in store for you tonight with Ben Brewer from the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Very excited to have pretty much the flagship baseball program in this conference on as a featured guest. And Marv, I know you're joining us from where tonight? Where did you say?
Richmond, Virginia. Snowy Richmond, Virginia.
Snow. Oh, it's currently snowing. It's.
I told you earlier, I've seen everything that can fall from the sky today. Snow, sleet, freezing rain. Man, I'm ready for spring.
I am too, after what we're going to see this week. Before we get to Ben, Seth, is it snowing in Boone as well?
Just ice. All ice this week.
That. Even more fun than rain, right?
Yeah, a little dangerous out there right now.
Yeah, I think we all got the weather going on because, Ben, you were telling us before you guys had to duck some tornadoes down there today, right?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of rain coming in. I think the tornadoes got going around 2 o'clock and still watching them right now. So popping up here and there. But so far, I think everybody's been pretty lucky. That's
good. You guys, I guess before we get rolling, you guys have like an indoor practice facility where you guys can at least get some stuff done in inclement weather like that?
We got a covered facility, so we can get some hitting done. There's enough room to throw some pins in the covered facility, and then there's a facility right down the road, pretty close to campus, that we can get as much done inside as we need to.
Nice. If any school in this conference had something like that, I would have assumed it would have been Southern.
No, we're down here by the coast, so we don't need too much heat in indoor.
Yeah, that's a good point. You guys also, was it kind of recent with the artificial turf, or was that something that took place a while back?
Coach Barry put that in, I think, about 5-6 years ago. It was right around that COVID time. So I want to say maybe 2021 they had the first season. I think it would have been the season of 21.
Okay.
We asked App's coach the same question I asked you. Do you have a preference whether it's turf or natural playing surface?
Man, a little part of me kind of likes that natural surface, smelling the grass and all that stuff. But I also don't have to hula ho and drag and do the field work with the turf. And we don't have to pull the tarp or do anything like that. So I've been a little spoiled with the turf, and I think I'm starting to change my mind on that.
Coach Smith gave us the same answer. He also brought up something that we didn't think about. It's better on the equipment. The balls don't get as beat up as quickly. Yeah. Uniforms can last a little bit longer.
You're on the family.
That's right. Yeah, sometimes we'll go on the road and our managers are like, man, we haven't seen dirt stains or anything like this. Grass stains. It's been turf all year. So sometimes they got to adapt to that.
That makes sense. That was one thing that he said that I had never once thought about, right? Like, I'm not the guy who's ever been out there taking care of the field. And you don't think about that aspect from an outside point of view. You play the game, you go home. I mean, what else is there to do? But you don't think about all the guys and sometimes ladies that are out there doing all this stuff after the game's over to keep it prepped and ready for the next time. And that's got to be a huge tool that, like Seth said, your families love.
Yeah, no doubt. And it gives you more time in the office, maybe, scouting reports, things like that. And but I will say there's a little part of you, when you're done with the field work, done cutting the grass and hula hoeing and all that stuff, and it does look really good for game day. There's a little part of that you still kind of miss, or you really enjoy when you are doing that field work.
It's a good point. I still like doing a little yard work from time to time. Not every day, not all the time, but occasionally. Right. Let's jump into last season real quick. Great season overall, 43-20, as we know. Conference record of 20-10, very impressive. And probably one of the also more impressive things is the RPI of 27 in the nation, which was just phenomenal. Could you talk on maybe just a little bit of rehashing last season, but more so what you guys' expectations are for the season ahead, both maybe personally for you and just the team overall?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, had a good season last year. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's trying to get to Omaha. Everybody's trying to, get to that level, and got to get through some pretty solid teams to get there. But I think we've kept a lot of really good players on our roster. I think we got 6 returning in the lineup. I think we got more than that coming back on the mound. So the expectations are high. I mean, we're excited, but at the end of the day, You never know what's going to happen. We got a tough non-con this year, and playing in the Sun Belt's going to be tough as well. You got to bring it day in and day out. So the expectations are high, but at the end of the day, you can't look past anybody. You got to bring it every weekend. And then you mentioned maybe a little bit of the personal side of that. As far as coaching catchers, I'm going to stay really locked in on those guys. And we got a small group of catchers this year. We only got 3 guys, but high hopes for them to continue to develop and grow from basically 2 freshmen playing last year.
Interesting. What would be your preferred number of catchers? That's something I probably wouldn't be aware of from kind of the outside perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, with a 40-man roster that we have right now, which that'll change next year, 3 or 4 is probably a pretty solid number. Before the 40-man roster, you had your typical 35. You usually you got to keep 3. So I think probably when you see those rosters change to 34 next year, it'll be more like 3, 4 at the max. And then you always got those guys that are capable of playing other positions. So maybe it's a guy with some power that can play the corners and catch. Maybe it's a guy with some speed that can move to the outfield. We've got our catcher right now was a high school shortstop. So guys that maybe could play multiple positions, that's going to allow you to carry more catchers. But I would think 3 is probably that sweet spot moving forward.
Can you talk about that non-con just a little bit and how scheduling factors into RPI, what you're looking at when you set a schedule in regards to RPI for the year?
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Barry kind of set a blueprint for how to kind of keep that RPI up and what he thinks would really work for us, and it did. And Coach Ostrander is continuing that. I think adding, a rival like Louisiana Tech, that's going to be a tough weekend. And they're also going to have high RPI every year. They're going to be right there, top 30 every year, it feels like, in RPI. So that one's good. And the rivalry's big, having Coach Ostrander and our hitting coach, Coach Creel, both had coached there in the past. TCU, obviously, that's going to be a fun one. We got to bring it that weekend, especially going to their place. And, going on the road to a really good team is really going to bring that RPI up. And then I'll admit I didn't know a ton about UNC Wilmington. And then when I started looking into their roster and the guys, the season they had last year, those guys can play some baseball. They can swing it. They can steal some bags. So Coach Ostrander really decided to load that schedule up for us, and getting started with Lafayette this weekend, 4-game set. So they'll bring some things to the table that maybe we haven't seen before. But it's going to be interesting. This might be one of the tougher schedules we've had since I've been at Southern Miss.
Nice. I know Marv's got a question, but before he does that, I did want to touch on that Lafayette season opening series. And just maybe a quick thing, maybe it's very obvious and I'm just not thinking of it. Is there an advantage to going 4 games instead of 3? Because, a lot of other teams right here are going just 3-game sets, but you guys have this 4-game set in that doubleheader listed for Saturday. Is that purposeful? Is that just because you just want that extra game early? Or what's the thought process maybe on 4 versus 3 for?
Yeah, I think Coach Ostrander was purposeful when he did that. I mean, it's going to allow us to throw one more starter. We get to see a guy go perform when the lights are on in front of the fans and against someone not wearing our logo, in an inter squad. So that helps. And also it helps kind of prevent that double midweek. Every once in a while, if you kind of get caught with a double midweek and you're turning around, let's say you're in conference and it's in the middle of the year, you want to make sure you've got your bullpen and all your starters ready to roll for the weekends in the Sun Belt. And if you got a double midweek, sometimes that's tough to do.
Yeah, speaking of the Sun Belt Conference, I want to ask this question we've been asking everyone. What is your favorite conference away venue to play in, whether it's because of the travel, the atmosphere, the facilities, just the place that you most look forward to playing on the road in the conference?
I love going to ULL, Louisiana Lafayette. Love going there. It's intense. I don't know that they love us, and I don't know that we love them, but, they're going to play hard. They're going to pack it out. They're going to be loud. They're going to let you know it's their home field. And then regardless of how the game goes, you're going to walk out to the bus and they're going to feed you. So they do a really good job of that, Cajun hospitality and getting after you on the field and then treating you right on the way out. So I appreciate that. And then, I think this was 2023. I'd never been to Coastal Carolina before. I think they got a really awesome setup. Really like the way their field's set up. Cages are awesome. Just a pretty cool kind of beach atmosphere out there. So those two are pretty awesome.
Louisiana has been
we got to find a way to Louisiana.
Yeah, everyone says so. Apparently, the people that cook for the opposing team after the game are called the Louisiana Cooking Club. And every coach or player that we've had on here has said that is some good eating after a game.
Little fried pork chop, some jambalaya. Hey, you don't need a fork. You just pick it up with your hands and get after it.
I hadn't had dinner yet. That sounds really good.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we want. I want to just go for that more than anything else. I've been down there twice for football and never been disappointed once with the food. Been introduced to new things like the boudin balls. Never heard of them before, and just absolutely out of this world, phenomenal. Had crawfish nachos at the football game.
There you go.
Would have never known that was a thing, but yeah, I tried them and they were delicious. So
they
I can only imagine what them. Yeah,
they're selling crawfish nachos in the football stadium.
Yes, but apparently it has to be crawfish season. It's not all season long, so you have to go at the right time.
That's high class right there, buddy.
Hey, I'm not from the coast. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I started learning about crawfish season very quick. They will let you know when it's go time. So I think actually with Mardi Gras coming up and some of that stuff happening, I think we got some players and some people getting after it, getting a boil going in their backyard.
There you go.
Nice. We've been sheltered, fellas.
Yeah. Want to go back to this because Danny Lynch has been a huge player, a fan favorite, a guy that's now been brought back as I believe his title is a graduate assistant at this point. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, that's right. He actually did finish his master's, and we found a way to keep him around. It's the same role. Technically, I guess he's not a graduate assistant, but he's once he's got his master's, he's still on as an assistant. Let's say that.
Gotcha. Is he also? Was it one of the reasons to keep him? Is he was a pretty vocal leader, I would assume, as a captain and everything for this team. Is he kind of still able to kind of do that because he's still young enough to get with those guys and have the understanding of those guys?
Absolutely. I mean, he had been around in Hattiesburg for at least, I believe, 3 years when I joined the staff. And, first scrimmage, I'm hearing him communicate with the outfield, communicate with the infield. He's nonstop in the dugout. He's making sure guys know where they need to be on the next play, cuts and relays. He's keeping guys involved in practices, teaching them, how to take things game-like, a little bit more seriously instead of going through the motions, holding guys accountable. He's getting guys in the cages and hitting. So while he was on the field for us, he was doing some coaching and helping some guys out, whether they were freshmen or guys that needed to, whatever swing adjustment. Hey, let's go hit. So it was a very easy transition for him. He's, I think he's 25 right now, 24, but he's coaching much more mature than that. So I think he does a really good job. And honestly, he's, I know Hattiesburg loves him and all of our fans love him, but very valuable part of what we're doing. And it does a very good job, like you said, kind of bridging that gap. Sometimes with the young guys, because he has played here and they know that.
Well, also for the coaching staff in general, how much are you guys like getting a glove on and still participating in this? Because I'm sure that, that's kind of fun for you guys to still kind of get that aspect out of it yourselves.
Shoot, I'll try. Every once in a while I'll go to shortstop. We'll do some base running drills and I'll embarrass myself out there. But Coach Krill, he's working with the hitters. He's working with the infielders every day. So he'll mix it up, doing that in the cages in his glove during infield practice and things like that. And Coach Rhodes will get out there a little bit, mix it up with the outfield as well. So we try to do those things. Like I told you before the show started, a little back issue last year, so can't quite get down there as far as I used to and pick it. And then every once in a while, the catchers will try and convince me to get down there and maybe do some receiving work, and that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. We're not doing that anymore.
Coach, talking about sunbelt baseball in general, talk about the conference a little bit and how you think it ranks, in the nation compared to some of these other top tier conferences.
Yeah, I know there's everybody's going to talk, Power 4, Power 5, whatever you want to talk about. At the end of the day, you're looking at teams in the Sun Belt whose RPI. You got guys that are breaking into the top 10. They're sitting in the top 20. I believe there was a stat where I forget what it was, but there was everyone in the tournament or everyone that made it or something was in the top 100 or something like that. I butchered that, but
you got it right. You got it right.
Right.
So only 3 conferences last year could say that, and the Sun Belt was one.
That's right. So, and I think another part of this is location. We're going to be able to play Mississippi State, Alabama, Ole Miss in the midweeks. Texas State's regularly going over there playing Texas Tech. They're getting some wins over there. South Alabama's able to do the same thing. Auburn, Alabama. You can go get LSU, Arkansas State over there. So the location for everyone is really good to be able to play midweeks and not just go play midweeks, but go and win them. So I think that's a big deal to where we're not just playing important games on the weekends. We're strapping it up on Tuesday and trying to get a win.
Coach, we learned last year how important, not to keep harping on RPI, but we kind of found out last year how important RPI actually is throughout the season. Those midweeks, obviously you go to win them, but your conference is hard enough. Is that you're trying to win ball games and boost the RPI for the end of the year? Is that kind of what we're looking at?
For us at Southern Miss, I think we do the best we can to not look. We're not going to take a peek at RPI. I'd be lying if I said I didn't look. We get to that last month of the season. I'm probably checking it out, but I think as a staff, we do a decent job of not thinking about it too much. Create a schedule that'll handle that for you, and then let's go win. Let's go make sure the guys are competing every day, learn how to go 56, playing as hard as you can. And there's that coach talk a little bit that we talked about, but getting better every day, not letting the outside circumstances control how we're going to show up to the field. The mental toughness side of things that Coach Ostrander talks to our team about every single day before practice. If your RPI is, top 25, is that going to change how you show up to the field? Are you playing Mississippi State? Is that going to change how you show up to the field? Or are we rolling into a tough Sun Belt weekend? Is that going to be different? Right. So we're trying to get them to be able to play 56 games. Like every game is the most important game. And hopefully at the end of the year, you look up and you're sitting there, hey, we got a pretty solid RPI.
Yeah. I want to follow up on that. You go 43-20, 27 RPI, you win arguably the 3rd, maybe 4th toughest conference. And then you get into a regional. We know you guys have hosted regional, super regionals in the past. You said you took a peek, the last month. Did you think that you guys had done enough to earn the right to host a regional last year? Because, the numbers speak for themselves, in my opinion.
I think we were borderline there last year. I think when you look at it, there was, a couple games that we probably should have handled early in the season, middle of the season. So the Sun Belt itself, you got to play great baseball 3 days in a row to sweep. It's really tough to do. Kind of taking that peak, you really got to be top 20 to really feel good about a host. I think there's some things that change maybe each year depending on regionally, maybe what the committee's looking at. I try not to worry too much about that. I don't talk too much about it or really know too much about it. But at the end of the day, I think if you're in the Sun Belt and you can get into that top 20, as close to that 16 mark as you can, you feel good about it. Because there's going to be some some bigger stadiums or whatever, your group or your Power Four and regionally and all those things that are going to come into play like they did last year a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. I know Marv's got a recruiting question, but before we get to that one, did want to talk a little. It's got a little bit to do with RPI here still, so it's still on course here a little bit. You guys start with 8 in a row at home. Like we kind of talked about before we really started recording, an advantage that most sunbelt teams and other SEC and ACC teams in the South have over those more northern teams and hosting early season games when they're dealing with rain, sleet, snow up north. You guys also have, like you said, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, TCU, La Tech, Tulane, Bama. Does the history and tradition of Southern Miss make that schedule easier to put together, or does it make it harder? I know there's kind of been the arguments back and forth with football saying, well, when you're a mid-major, right? I mean, I know we get that moniker a lot. It's harder to schedule when you think you can get beat by these guys, right? And Southern Miss isn't going to show up to any field and think they don't have a chance to win. So is it make it easier because you guys have been so good with RPI and the history, or does it make it tougher to kind of get some of these games?
I think it's just as tough. I mean, we rolled into La Tech last year. Thought we played good early, and they gave us everything we wanted on Sunday. I mean, teams are trying to beat you no matter what logo you have on your chest or anything like that. I think the tradition, the things that we've done here in the past, those are awesome. But, continuing that is harder and making sure that the outlook from the players is the same. I think, as coaches, we want to prepare for what we can do in the postseason and in Sunbelt Conference. I think having a tough schedule is good at that. You want to be challenged. You want to, I don't think anyone wants to lose, but sometimes you learn a lot from a loss. So scheduling those games, it's by design. We want to play a tough schedule, and we do think we can win them, but at the same time, that's not how baseball works. You gotta play well for 9 innings, and you can get beat by anybody.
Yeah. So I got a question about recruiting and just kind of looking at the landscape of college athletics, and probably more prevalent in football than anything. But when you look at NIL, transfer portal, when you're recruiting a kid, obviously you're looking for someone that fills a need, someone that's the right fit for the program. But does it change your guys' perception when you go out and recruit and say, hey, I got this really talented high school kid, but it might take a year or two to get him college ready. Maybe needs to hit the weight room, hasn't seen these kind of arms that you're going to see in the Sun Belt, versus looking at a kid that has played JUCO, maybe has 2 years of college baseball, or a kid that's, coming from a Power 5 program that didn't get the playing time, but could come and make an immediate impact. Does that change the way that you guys build your roster?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think, Coach Rhodes, our recruiting coordinator, and Coach Creel was the recruiting coordinator before Coach Rhodes got with us. So they've had a really good vision for what they've been doing the last couple of years. But we've done a little bit of everything. I mean, every year that I've been here, we've brought in high school pitchers, high school shortstops, high school catchers. But we've also gone over to some junior colleges and tried to bring in a junior college arm or two. I think that helps being in a region where, the state of Mississippi's got 15 junior college baseball teams. Alabama's got a bunch too. So we can stay local. We can go find kids that love Southern Miss and want to be at Southern Miss, and find an arm or two or a bat or two from the junior college ranks that can help our team, whether we lose a guy to the draft, or maybe a guy graduates, or maybe there's an injury, something to fill a hole we didn't know about. Sometimes there's talent in junior college you just can't refuse. You got to go get those guys. And I think you could say the same thing about the portal. If you could just get a perfect high school class every year, you'd never have to worry about it, but that's not how it works. It's always good to get a little bit older in that portal and maybe find a guy to fill a hole, whether it's the draft or maybe a guy transfers or something like that. So trying to make sure that you have a good mix of it. Good high school foundation is what we really love. And then trying to supplement that and fill in those holes with good talent from local junior colleges and maybe the portal if necessary.
How easy does the brand of Southern Miss make it for you guys to bring guys in? I mean, you think about just the prestige that the program has had. I would imagine that you walk into a high school with a Southern Miss shirt on and you got a guy's attention, or if you're a JUCO player or a guy in the portal, they're probably reaching out to you because they know how good the baseball is there, and it probably makes it easier to get them on campus.
I think it definitely helps. I don't know if it makes it easier. I mean, we're trying to get high level talent, and when that's happening, you're dealing with a lot of really good baseball teams, whether it's sunbelt teams or teams from bigger conferences. I have been at, other schools where maybe it took me 5 to 6 months of communication to get a guy really locked in. And I think it's Southern Miss. There are people that want to come play here, especially in the state of Mississippi. I think the state of Mississippi's got good baseball, and I think guys from the area want to play here. And I think that helps maybe with the initial phone call, the recognition, like in the past, maybe explaining where our school was located or hey, we're not at this location, we're at another location. A lot of times Southern Miss, especially in the state of Mississippi, they're going to know a lot about it off the top of their head.
Well, if they have a hard time with Southern Miss and figuring out where it's at, I don't know if you really want them on the team. You spent some time at Mississippi Gulf Coast, which I feel like we routinely see basketball players and baseball players within this conference come from. Is that kind of a hotbed across the board? Is it just kind of a sports specific community college where these people just load up on getting the grades ready and then they're ready, maturity wise for jumping back in Division I or jumping up to Division I for the first time?
That junior colleges put a lot of time and effort into their athletic facilities and giving their athletes a great opportunity to go to junior college. One of the best junior college baseball fields in the country, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it is a hobby. I think the coast itself, I think South Mississippi and the coast is going to put out football talent, baseball talent, basketball talent. And then when you really look at the state of Mississippi, you've got Jones College, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, Pearl River, all three right there on the coast, recruiting that hard. And then we haven't even got within an hour of Jackson, where you got Hines over in Meridian and East Central are over there. So you've got 6 junior colleges that are recruiting the coast hard. So they're picking it apart, and they're finding a lot of talent down here. So as far as baseball goes, from Louisiana over to Alabama, that strip of Mississippi right there, they can play some baseball.
No doubt about that.
We just got to keep Coach Maggs from getting over on this side of the coast and meeting some of those guys. So I had to talk a little trash tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for. This is the best part of the Sun Belt, is the trash talk. We talked about it on one of the last shows, the amount of Southern Miss burners that exist on Twitter that just Maggs is giving them full credit, saying it's absolutely incredible how fast they can come out with a GIF or a meme. He's like, you can do something in the 8th inning, and before the 9th even starts, there's already post up.
It's unbelievable. They get after it on there, and kind of a fun thing to do is try to figure out who's behind those burners, see if we can figure out who they are. There's a couple sleepers out there that they don't say much. And then out of nowhere, they're going to drop a bomb in the middle of baseball season. You're like, where'd this guy come from? So there are some good ones out there. And, that's part of the fan base. Our fans are incredible, and they're nonstop. So there was some action. We released our starting rotation a little bit before we hopped on here, and the burners were getting after it. So I was watching some of that before we hopped on.
If some people that are watching or listening to this don't remember the feud between Tennessee and you guys a couple years ago about an Applebee's, I don't know where to tell you to go find that, but hilarity, like just absolutely great stuff from the fan bases interacting. We talked about, obviously some get a little out of hand, but for the most part, it's really creative and just funny to listen and see. Also, it's just the amount of sheer numbers that will attack an account from like the Tennessee Bulls talking trash. There will be 30 people on that one tweet immediately before anybody can even help defend them. So it's so great to see that.
There's a lot of Applebee's pictures out there, and I don't have anything against Applebee's. I thought it was pretty good. So I'm a fan. And to go a little further into this, my family back home in Tennessee, they're Tennessee Vol fans. So makes Christmas a little awkward. I got to talk a little trash, and they try not to. But, yeah, I think some of that stuff's awesome. Once the season really gets started, do the best we can to not look at it. But when it's funny and they're doing a good job and they're on our team, I love it.
Yeah. Did you grow up a Vols fan? You went to UT Martin. Was that like a thing?
I did not grow up a Vols fan. My dad went to Mississippi State University, so don't tell anybody that. We can cut that part out and hide that. That is not something I need to talk about. So I had known a lot about Mississippi baseball for a long time. So nice. I kept up with all the teams down here, and because my dad made me, but I'm maybe the only member of my family that's not a Tennessee Vols fan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is it fair to assume your dad's a baseball guy?
Baseball, football, yeah. Baseball and football. So he worked with the football team there as an equipment manager.
Okay.
So that's kind of the connection. I actually had an uncle who was one of the coaches at Mississippi State, late 70s.
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay. Seth, you want to take that fun question that we like to throw out so much?
So the new thing today is the Savannah Bananas, and we're getting everybody's opinion on banana ball and thoughts on it. Like it, hate it, indifferent. Just seeing what everybody has to say about it.
Yeah. So honestly, early on, I was a little skeptical. Kind of goes back to that natural grass. I'm a little bit of that. I like purist, some would say. That's kind of what, I thought early on. I'm like, what are they doing? The more I've watched it, I love it. Some of the things they're doing, hard to do. I mean, some of those catches that they're doing, there's a guy on stilts going hard 90 down the line. Like, you're trying to get guys in inter squads to go hard 90 down the line. This guy's doing it on stilts. So I love it. I think it's probably a little bit harder than people are giving them credit for. I think the amount of time they're putting in to perfect that skill, it's a lot of hard work. And then I think on maybe a little different non-baseball note, they're doing some marketing things that are incredible. I think that you can learn from how they do things. Maybe some things you can't do in college, you have to do them in pro ball. But they're putting people in the seats. They're marketing at a high level. And I don't know a ton, and I don't know a ton of the details, but as far as the talent and the marketing, it's incredible.
From a guy who's in sales and marketing, I cannot remember the guy who owns the Bananas, but he is one of the most underrated marketing geniuses on the face of the earth. I can't remember the story, but he bought that for like next to nothing. Really? And for what he's turned it into, it's incredible.
Well, what's the one of our assistant coaches, Keller Bradford, showed me this movie. I cannot remember it. It's the minor league team in Washington, Seattle, Washington. Anyways,
I'm on a blank.
So they're a minor league team. They get moved to independent, and they start doing some crazy marketing deals. And so they start bringing thousands of fans to the ballpark to a team that was about to go under. It reminds me a little bit about that. And Keller, if he sees this, he's going to kill me for forgetting the name of that movie.
Coach, everybody sees this. Don't worry.
Worldwide. This is worldwide.
That's right. I'm gonna have to wear it on that one. But if you can find that movie, it's a really good kind of real world example of kind of what the Bananas are doing right now. But there's a team doing it back in the 70s or 80s up in Seattle.
Interesting.
Nice.
Find it.
This and I don't know. Some people may be like, you guys ask a lot of the same questions. Well, this is why we do it. And this is the fourth show we've asked that question. You're the first person to bring up the marketing aspect and what it means and what it could do. And this is why I love sometimes asking the same question, because you get so many different people to give you different views and answers on it. That was a great one. I think that's one of my favorite ones, because that is a massive aspect of why they have been so successful. Not just the play on the field, not just the goofy stuff, but how they market it as well. I know Marv appreciates that with his line of work a lot. And Seth, you were running your social media accounts for work for a little bit, right?
We can all appreciate a little money flowing through.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Now we just need to get you to do it for this podcast, Seth. That's all. We just,
we're going to have to talk about dollar figures there, buddy.
Hey, Dom, that's the next move, man. We got to get one of those marketing interns from the Bananas to come run social media for us. That's game changer.
I'm sure they make a lot more money doing that, but
hey, what, you guys get paid for this?
Yeah, exactly. Wait a minute. Where did we find the dollars? In the couch? Because I don't know where else they'd be coming from. But this has been a blast, Ben. I know you guys are about to start on Friday. Hopefully, again, weather holding off and cooperating for us. You guys get all 4 games in this weekend. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us? Or guys, you guys got any last minute questions for Ben before we go?
Just on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you, the other coaches, and the kids just to get started this weekend?
Shoot, it's probably an 11 or 12. We're up there, and I think it's probably more for the guys. I think, from the coaching side of things, you want to stay as calm and stay locked in and make sure you're making the right decisions on things. But we're excited to get going. I know Hattiesburg's excited to get going, and I bet that's probably everyone around the country. And baseball season gets here, it's the best time of year.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, we really appreciate your time tonight. Best of luck to the Golden Eagles moving forward. We have our own set of expectations for you guys and what we'll see out of you this season. And I know that there'll be a lot of people tuning in and showing up down there in Hattiesburg this weekend. So best of luck, and we'll definitely have you on again soon.
Yeah, heck yeah. Thanks for having me, and see if I can get a couple players with me next time.
Thanks, Coach.
There we go. That's what we're like.
Yeah.